So we're going to talk about a couple of entity framework conventions that are kind of going on behind the scenes. So we said that DB set is what's connecting our movie entity with the movies table that entity framework is going to create. So let's kind of take a look here at movie. So how this is going to work is it's going to look for anything labeled ID or that has the class name in front of ID. Entity framework is going to assume that is your primary key. If the data type is integer, like ours is, not only is it a primary key, but it's also going to be an identity column, and the values will be automatically generated. Now, there is a way to override that, but we are not going to learn that until later in the semester. All of the validation that we have added also gets translated over into the table and columns. So if we put in required, that column becomes not null. If we add a range, then it's going to code in a constraint to enforce that range. If we used string length, it's going to create a variable character string with the max size being whatever we specified for the length. Okay, so those attributes that you code are quite important, and they are directly transferred over into your table and columns. So at this point, we have our context class. We have used it to provide the options, and we've also used it to connect our movie class with the table that will be created. Our next little step is going to be to seed our data. And seed data is nice when you're testing, because when you run the app, you're going to actually have data that you can look at so that you can kind of customize and tweak your views. You can also test all of the CRUD operations that way. To seed your tables, we are going to use the onModelCreating method. This is a method in the DB context class. We are actually going to override it, and the object that it uses to add the data is a model builder object. So we are going to be editing our context file because this is where we need to specify that we have the seed data. And so we are going to put that right below our DB set. And we're indicating that this is an override. And the method is onModelCreating. And it requires a model builder object. And we're just going to call it model builder, the lowercase m. And then we have to take our model builder object and indicate that we are using the movie class or movie entity and that it has data. And we're going to put the data right in here. So we are creating a new movie. And one thing that you are going to just have to remember when you use has data is that if you have an identity column, you have to key in the seed value. Okay, has data is not going to auto generate the value for you. Okay, so that is our first one. We're going to do a couple more. And because I'm kind of a lazy typist, I am going to copy this. And then I'm going to paste it twice. And after the second one, I'm going to get rid of the comma. And I'm going to give it little different IDs. And the years are different. And we got a little different ratings. Okay, so that is my seed data. So I'm going to go ahead and save. And just to make sure I don't have any issues, I'm going to run a build. Now you'll notice I run builds quite often because I like to catch problems right away rather than have them compound. So that worked. And our next step, now that we have our context done, if you remember, there's 3 files that are critical to the code first processed. One of them is the context file. And then the other 2 are adding a connection string to app settings and adding dependency injection to the startup. And that's what we'll be doing next.